Hey sports fans, Coach Nick here and welcome to another edition of Give and Go. With our usual suspects, we have Larry Coon of the 9 most important letters you're going to see, NBA, CBA, FAQ, the author, and Eric Pincus of hoopsworld.com. Eric is actually fresh out of his car from the Lakers press conference. Eric, is there anything you heard there that is of any interest to anybody yet?
Sure. I mean, there's going to be a lot of pressure on the coaching staff to integrate a new system. They've got like 4 months, 66 games. They're going to have minimal training camp. They're going to have no practice time. They've got guys with old legs. It's going to be a challenge for them to integrate and to learn how to transition over from Coach Phil Jackson to Coach Mike Brown. It's going to be different. From the GM side, Mitch Kupchak really was kind of hamstrung in what he could talk about, not that he's especially forthcoming anyway in these kind of situations, but he really deferred to the notion that the CBA hasn't been agreed to yet. There's no document signed, and so he only has an outline, so it's hard for him to truly know the rules and what's going to happen. I did ask him, do they have like a green light to spend money before this potential luxury tax, or at least limitation on spending power, creeps in the next couple of years, and he really said that from what he understands, their options as an organization are going to be limited. I asked about the Sasha Vujacic trade exception, which expires on the 15th. He really didn't elucidate or illuminate anything on it other than to say that they can't sign a player outright with it, and I tried to push the notion that he could sign and trade a player, but it kind of got swallowed up in the non-answer. So did my best to push it. Didn't learn a lot new. But there's going to be a lot of decisions once they get the document. The Lakers have that exception from trading Vujacic expiring on the 15th of December, so there might be a slight additional flexibility. The difficult part will be cashing it out and getting a team to work with them.
Okay.
Well, Eric's comment about the team needing to adjust on a short schedule is pretty important. If we look at history, in 1999 we had another lockout. We had a 50-game season, a minimal training camp, minimal practice time between games. So it was a similar situation. That year, the team that won the championship was San Antonio Spurs, a team with veteran players, the same coach, mostly the same players, and they were able to hit the ground running, a veteran team with minimal changes. Now, the Lakers, on the other hand, were transitioning from one coach to another. Kurt Rambis was the coach. They had Dennis Rodman coming in and out that year. So there were, a lot of changes, a lot of distraction that season. And, the Spurs won, the Lakers didn't. And I think that the continuity was one of the most important factors. So this year, you want to look at teams who have continuity. And the Lakers coaching changed from Phil Jackson to Mike Brown. Even though most of the personnel are the same, the coaching change is going to be huge for them.
Absolutely. So what you're saying is Kobe will be sitting home again watching somebody else in the finals.
Well, we'll see. I don't know if the Lakers can be considered to be the favorites anymore in the West. Oklahoma City, Dallas still potentially. They're going to have some competition here. And then in the finals, you expect Miami to be stronger. Boston maybe makes one more run. Chicago may be ready this year, depending on what they can do with the two-guard and some other things. So I think that they have a window of opportunity here in Kobe Bryant's last couple of years at his prime. But that window is by no means assured. It's going to be a tough struggle even in these 2 years.
Well, as John Lennon did say, Happy Christmas, war is over, and we definitely have an end to the lockout, I think, although it apparently could still go the other way in theory. It did feel to me like James Dean in Rebel Without a Cause, where they were playing chicken and they're driving toward that cliff. To me, the players jumped out of the car, but perhaps they kept rolling and fell off the cliff anyway.
Well, let me give you a theory here, because that was one of my questions. What did the decertification and the lawsuit really get the players? Because they ended up agreeing to pretty much the same agreement that was unacceptable 2 weeks prior. They got a couple of concessions, but had they instead just told the league, we accept your take or leave it proposal with a couple of additional changes, and put it back on the league to say yes or no, cancel the season or not, it probably would have gotten done. I think the word was that David Stern was expecting the players to come back with a counter rather than say yes or no. Now, if you go back and say, why did they go through the trouble of disclaiming interest, filing a lawsuit only to agree to a certain kind of deal? Maybe it was so Hunter can get something done without all the pull from the hardline people. He had agents pulling him one way. He had the player representatives from 30 teams voting unanimously to disclaim interest in the union. He had hardline players to deal with. By actually letting that disclaimer happen, it took it from labor negotiations to settlement discussions where he was still the principal participant. They could come up with an agreement, a settlement on that lawsuit, and which is the framework for a deal without really having to go to all those players and get their approval on it. Now, when it does come time to get their approval, we have a season ready to start. It's done. The principal terms are agreed to, and there's a lot of momentum toward the season now that's going to be hard to break. I think it's going to be a lot harder for the players to say no now than it was a couple of weeks ago.